this isn't an accusation.
Okay.
This isn't an accusation, but we're looking at, I'm a working parent and I feel like I'm failing in both. That sense of doing your best, but just not having the kind of time, energy, bandwidth to make a success of both. And one of them's giving, if not both, and the guilt that goes with that. Is that something you ever feel? Is that something that you come across?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I think it's so multi-layered. I think we feel like this because we feel like we're failing in areas, or certain areas are falling because we're trying to, do everything. We're spreading ourselves too thinly. But maybe we feel like that because we are. Like maybe we feel like that because we just don't have the capacity. We were never meant to have the capacity. I think, the whole thing of parenthood, it takes a village. Well, actually, I think our challenge is that we have become our own villages. We're trying to meet all the needs, all our needs, all everyone's needs. We're trying to juggle all the balls with two hands when actually it's a job for more. I just think we're expecting so much of ourselves.
So even before you factor in being a working parent, being a parent per se, and not living as part of a kind of extended family or wider community, which is how we would have lived throughout most of history, that itself is a hell of a challenge. And then you layer in work on top of that.
And home. And I think, I can't remember the stats, so I won't quote it, but, the amount of labour done by, a parent is, I think it's, mums are worth like billions of pounds in unpaid labour. And it's not just the stuff that we see, it's the stuff that we carry, it's the stuff that we have in our heads, it's the dates, it's the must remember this for the football kit, must do that, can't forget the appointment, and it's the stuff, it's the unseen stuff that is carried and juggled along with I've got to answer these emails, and it's relentlessness. Like I think we're just kind of quite collectively tired and burnt out.
But so do you just accept that you want a career, and being a stay-at-home mum the whole time might, I don't know, would that you wouldn't feel true to yourself? You would feel perhaps intellectually understimulated. You've got a lot to give. You can help people because you want a career, and whatever your husband wants the same.
Yeah.
There's just an inevitable compromise that something gives.
Yeah.
And that's just what happens.
And do you know what often gives? It's my mental health. That's what gives. I think we're sold this idea in the media, really, that you can have it all and you can be it all and you can do it all. But what we're not told is what is lost in the process of that and what the cost is. And I think when we look at other people's lives who seem to be juggling everything so well and not dropping the balls that we're dropping, what we don't see is what's being lost. Like what we don't see is the snappiness behind the closed doors, the irritability with the children, or the balls dropped at work that have repercussions, or and what gets squeezed out are the things that really should be the non-negotiables, like the rest and the downtime and the hobbies and the socializing and the kind of the connecting with a partner, those things which are actually should be non-negotiables for mental health and well-being become optionals. And because they become optionals, they just get shoved down to the bottom of the pile. And we kind of, it's like a machine carrying on without service and ignoring the warning lights of the car. And, one day you will end up on the side of the M25 awaiting recovery because you've just ignored it all. And I think we just seem to be living culturally, like running at 100 miles an hour, crashing. Running at 100 miles an hour, crashing, because we're not listening to our needs, we're not listening to our feelings, and all of those things go unmet. And I always say to people, you either have to slow down or something will make you. Like something will make you slow down, whether it's a crisis of health, whether it's just the fact that suddenly you're just entirely spent. Like we're spending ourselves on everything because we believe that we should be able to do it.
On that very sort of practical level, though, for a lot of people, it's not a choice. You
No.
might need your income,
Yeah.
whether you're a man or a woman. You know, you need your income to maintain your quality of life. You can't give up work. You can't be a full-time parent. What can you do to try and either assuage the guilt or to slow down a bit?
Okay, so I think it's about looking at what the shoulds are. Like, what are your shoulds? I should be doing this. I should be doing that better. I should be cooking every meal. I should be turning up at work at this time, despite the fact that I'm contracted to this time. You know, what are your shoulds? Because those are the rule systems that often, you know, when we actually pick them apart, you know, the pressure to keep those shoulds are often from us. You know, we're applying it ourselves. Look at where our standards are. Like, are we being perfectionist in certain areas of our lives where actually we need to start introducing some just enoughists?
Talk to me about guilt.
So I think there are two types of guilt. So I think there's justified guilt. That is the kind of guilt that you get that feeling in your stomach. You know, say I'm on my phone around my kids. I've been on my phone. I've gone from checking emails to a bit of social media scrolling, and I feel this sense of guilt. You know, that guilt isn't there to shame me. It's there to prompt me. It's there to say, Anna, you know, maybe just put the phone down and like get a jigsaw out. And I think, you know, that's kind of helpful guilt, and it can be constructive, and we can let it prompt us to kind of change our course a little bit. Okay, and then there's unjustified guilt that I think so many of us carry, this sense of guilt and shame for stuff that is absolutely not our fault. So a lot of parents, so say, for example, you know, parents that have to do the juggle, they have no choice. They have to work a certain amount of hours. They have to use a certain amount of childcare. And there's that immense kind of sense of guilt. And actually, that guilt isn't justified. You know, that's the circumstances. That there isn't choice there in the way that you might like. And actually maybe that's more of a grief. That should be more of a, like, allowing yourself to feel upset about the fact that things aren't how you would like them to be. But when we feel that unjustified guilt, we just end up kind of shaming, criticizing ourselves for something that we haven't actually done wrong. Like, for mums that weren't able to breastfeed their babies, they might feel a sense of guilt about that. It's not about fault. You know, and when we feel this guilt and this shame, we end up kind of criticizing ourselves and sometimes punishing ourselves to try and kind of make it feel better.
It's hard work, isn't it? This modern life, this juggling, this trying to keep up. Are you tempted just to drop out sometimes and have a simpler, quieter life somewhere?
Yeah. Sometimes I do just fantasize about throwing the phone out the window, you know, selling all the things, went on holiday, took a suitcase of however many outfits, and I got back and I looked at my wardrobe full of clothes and I thought, man, I haven't even thought about these clothes. You know, I've got so much. Life is just so full of stuff. And I think we run so fast and we live so fast, and we're going to get to a point. And I think, you know, every birthday people get these feelings, and like when their children turn another age, of like, where did that go? Like, and I think just trying to introduce a bit of slowness where we can, a bit of cutting corners. I say cutting corners is a valid form of self-care. You know, sometimes it's about buying the microwave meal, you know, and just letting that guilt fall away and choosing not to shame yourself for it, but actually you're going to be nicer to be around if you haven't had to stand in the kitchen for another hour. You know, actually that's a gift you're giving yourself.
You've also given yourself hyper-processed foods, which,
well, you know,
that's a whole other show, which I've probably done.
I'll listen to that one.
Oh.